Boom! We are live. Welcome to Tokyo Tonight for this, the final day of July, July 31st, 2016. Good to be with you. We've just had the Tokyo gubernatorial election tonight, where we appear to have a new governor in Yuriko Koike. That's some news I'm going to talk about in a minute, among other things. First of all, it's very good to see all of you. For those of you who joined for the Japanese show that preceded this, thank you for joining, because I am trying to get the Japanese mojo back going, and it's nice to have a regular show. Even I'm keeping it to 30 minutes at the moment, because I just can't talk for 1.5 hours. But that said, yeah, it's pretty cool. I've been rocking. Kids are on summer vacations and so on at the moment. I will myself be on vacation from not this week but the next week. So basically the end of the week of August 12. So I think on August 14. I will not do a show because I will be on vacation, but I'll be back the week after that. And I hope that you guys are all having a good summer if you're in the northern hemisphere, and I hope that if you're in the southern hemisphere that your winter is not sucking too much. It appears to be sucking terribly in the central North Island, where I used to live in New Zealand. They've had major snowstorms this week. Here in Tokyo it's been crazy hot. Hot is also kind of not fun because you can't really do much to escape it. Although yesterday I went to it's called the Amusement Museum, but it's like this crazy. They call it, I don't know why they call it museum. It's just a big water slide sort of park with all the sort of Sasuke, American Ninja Warrior obstacle courses and climbing and stuff. That was super awesome. So I did that yesterday, and I played rugby yesterday. Or rugby today. So I am exhausted and sunburned and tired, but I am good. I also was at a YouTube event which I emceed in English on Friday, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But I see that Andrea Moboy, August 12th, will be the first day in China. Well, that's pretty cool. That'll be my first day of vacation in Thailand, so we'll both be traveling that day. That's pretty awesome. Why are you going to be in China in no time there, Andrea? So congrats on that. And let's go and say hello and see who is in the audience today. So where are we? We've got Razo Gul, of course, is always there, as well as Icarus18, and thank you for joining me on the Japanese stream as well. It's very good to see you. Ryan Gaunt, good to see the name, and actually, it rings a bell, but indeed I think it probably has been a while. So been a while since you could make one of these. Welcome, Ryan Gaunt, good to have you here. Mata Gaijinka, excellent to have you as number 4 in the comment section, indeed. As well as Tai Nakamura, great to have you along. Good morning to you there in Flint. What else we got here? We got Sean Bro. All the regular homies, don't we? We got, who else we got here? We got Mr. Cordy Chep, I see. Razo still, it's pretty much the regular crowd there. We got Warped Wheel, good to see you. Meep, indeed. John Reeves, good to see you. Andrea Moboy, of course. Sergeant Bilko, great to see you. And yeah, check it out, it's a rocking crowd. Temiko, boom, we've got Temiko, which is good to see. Kia ora. Fellow Kiwi, Nicholas Filter, great to have you along. Who else we got in here? Hemingford Grey 62, if you are here and you're watching, let me know. Mikey Chen, good to see you, and good evening to you. And good evening to everybody. I'm sorry if I missed you, but you say hello, and I will make sure I mention your name, and give me questions or topics or anytime that you want me to talk about. I am paying attention, and I will talk to those. But if you don't give me anything, then I will stick to my topics, which I have a few things, but we'll come to all of those anyway. Let me talk about the Eric Swift 6 was on Cooking with Dog. Well, yeah, he is the Yorkshireman. Okay, that's right. Well, I'll bet you, if you think that you're poor in Yorkshire, but when I was a kid in New Zealand, I mean, what we would have given to have been poor in Yorkshire compared to being poor in central New Zealand, I can tell you. So yes, let's go to, actually, you know what, the YouTube event was pretty awesome, so let me show you my Facebook. And in that, if I can go to my thread and show you my photos, if I can figure out how to do that. Photos, oh no, not that one. This is the risk of doing this, is that I'll show something I don't mean to show. This is my Facebook thread here. This was really awesome. So this was the YouTube event, the 360 video, which I was asked to come and help MC in English. It was mostly in Japanese. It was limited to people of old Kung Fu film. Yes, we will get to that, Razogul, as well. Oh, and that's a good question, Sergeant Bilko. August 3rd. Man, that's right. We need to do that this week, and we need to get organised. In fact, I'm going to come back and talk about that as well. So yes, with this event, it was about 360 video, but of course it was limited to people with 10,000 subscribers or more. One thing that was very interesting about the show, I was just talking about in Japanese, is that whenever they have, most of the events that they have, the happy hours, are limited to 1,000 or more. And this was the first, they've done 1,000 person events and 100,000 person events, but this is the first time they've done a 10,000 person event. And what was interesting was they found it just as easy to get 120 responses to get, to get the full list of responses. But apparently whenever they have the 1,000 and above subscribers, like half of the people don't show up by the cutoff for the reception. Even last time we did on my happy hour, there were people who were like asking for the, for the entire party to be held up just so that they could come in. Not 15 minutes late, but 30 minutes late, which is crazy. There's a lot of people who kind of don't really have a clue about how you're supposed to do this sort of thing, and they were very and said person was also very upset that this event was restricted to 10,000. Bear in mind, not all the events are going to be 10,000, but this one was. But what was interesting about this was they filled up the registrations just as fast as if they had the threshold at 1,000. And they actually had like 80% or more, they, instead of having like 60 or 70 people show up to 120 registrations, they had actually over 100 show up. It was like 80-90% registration. So 80-90% show up. So there's also this thing, I guess, that clearly, there are a lot of channels now in Japan that are over 10,000 people. So that threshold is rapidly going up there at the moment, and those people are clearly more reliable and businesslike, and will actually show up to events when they say that they will, and not demand special treatment. So they show a much higher degree of maturity than at least some people. You get the people who don't show up, you get the people who act weird and go up and abuse YouTube people when they're there. Nobody above 10,000 does that. So I can kind of see from YouTube's perspective how up on the 29th floor of that building, the Roppongi Hills, how kind of makes sense to do events like this. It was really interesting, actually, and it's kind of a shame. I mean, it's not to say that all people below 10,000 act immaturely. Not at all. In fact, there are a lot of people who deserve to be at these parties, but at the same time, from YouTube's perspective, it was an interesting case there. Very nice to see Mild 20, by the way, there in the comments, along with Miss Hanake. Great to see you, and yes, nice that you can join both in English. And you can check how much you understood indeed. I was trolling a bit with this, but there's this massive not Pokemon, there's a massive Doraemon thing going on around Roppongi Hills at the moment, and these things were everywhere. So yes, I was kind of enjoying trolling that, and I got some appropriate furious responses back on Twitter when I posted that. There was this really sexy, attractive DJ Dix, and quite an attractive lady playing them. But I like I like the equipment, so I took a picture of the equipment and the headphones. I got her foot over there. I was a little bit shy. I think that was part of it. I was just a bit shy. I as someone who likes to play on these sorts of things myself, it's pretty cool when you can get a nice looking DJ. That said, at the same time, these decks are like ancient now. I mean, these were around like when I was playing, which was a very long time ago, and they were expensive at the time. But anyway, that was kind of cool. Fashionably late is fine. Michael Gillen Peckett, good to have you along here. Oh yes, so this one, they actually did caricature paintings. Oh yes, so look at this. Check it out. This is a Google Cardboard, for watching virtual reality stuff. Like they handed these out to people who participated. Plus, da-da-ding. I don't think it looks like me at all, actually. I don't know. What do you think? I just have to stick my chin out and go this way. Does that look like me? Nah, I don't think it looks like me. But anyway, this is kind of awesome. I've never had one of these sort of done before, and I don't really know how that works, but this is kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe I might make this my channel icon. But yes, I was thinking when I looked at it, it looks like a record album. It's about the same size. I'm thinking it looks kind of legit. Like when they put it into the plastic packaging, I was holding it. I was like, yeah, this looks like. It's not quite a full size, it's not quite a 12-inch, but this could be like my first released LP. This looks kind of legit, doesn't it? And Mr. Cordyceps, you will be banned shortly. You will be moderated with extreme prejudice if you continue along that thing. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I was just saying before on the Japanese show, what I mentioned last week, I saw the Eddie the Eagle movie on the airplane. That was actually a really good movie, by the way, surprisingly good movie. I guess I had very low expectations, but that looks like Eddie the Eagle. I guess if I was like a ski jumper, that's what I would, yeah. And this is the other problem. I think I showed this to Haruka from Biggie Dragons, and I kind of mentioned we both, knowing a lot of English people, know people who actually look like this, and that is what's disturbing. However, it was fun. What else we got here? I met this guy, Fit Gaijin. He is fit and he is a gaijin. He's got like serious muscles, you know. That's me. Just before I knocked him out, of course. You know, that's. But no, he's got a girlfriend who is also like amazingly good looking and well put together. What was her name? It was like Hime something. Anyway, I will check out his channel. It's Fit Gaijin there, and he's mates with Takaine-san, who is Muscle Watching, who is the big Japanese fitness guy, who also hosts YouTube Happy Hour. So that was kind of cool. This was the event space. It filled up really, really well. It was very cool to see some familiar faces there, Angela and Haruka, among other people there. So that was pretty cool. This was, that's right, Kurumin Aroma. She was there. She came along to my happy hour as well and was an awesome participant, so awesome to see her. Oh yeah, so this is Stephanie Houston. She's got a channel called, I can't remember the name of her channel, but she does like gaming, like Metal Gear Solid videos and stuff. She's like a serious gamer, and she's like from the Netherlands, and she's quite good looking. I mean, you know, among many other things, she's a talented YouTuber. She's got a massive channel. She does games. I mean, I was kind of, what is it with European people? How they're always like just freakishly, you know, awesome. I don't know. And that's Roger Soto in the background. He's a good guy. So yeah, it was kind of cool. I thought this looks like a, you know, like a new variety show poster. I think this could be totally legit as like a TV show promo poster. More Pokemons. That's me. I was Rage Against the Machine. I think that particular one. That was. Yeah, always goes well. This is why augmented reality is going to succeed and virtual reality won't, because it kind of looks a little bit, you know, antisocial, even though they're definitely having fun. So that is a good thing. Yeah, so that is awesome. That is this, and it was a great event. It had a lot of fun. So yes, hopefully there'll be more of these, and we will try to do an international one of party like this at some point. But for now, that is that. So what else we got here? We got well, Uncle seems to be supporting the campaign to ban Cordyceps. But yeah. Sergeant Booker wondering if Stephanie has an older sister. Maybe she does. Who knows? So what do we got tonight? Tokyo has a new governor. The governor is Yuriko Koike, and yeah, she is kind of funny. There's a bit of a story with this. She really wanted to be Tokyo governor, and she went up to the LDP, her party. She used to be a LDP defense minister, and she said to them, hey, how do I apply to be the LDP person in the election for the Tokyo governor? Frankly, the LDP already had the guy that they wanted to have run, which is a former governor of Iwate called Masuda, who's not from Tokyo, but he's a kind of an insider with the LDP. And they didn't want to hear about, you know, competition for the role. So they kind of told her, yeah, we'll get back to you, we'll talk about it later. And she got all kind of pissed off. She kind of realized, well, it's not really clear. They're not even telling her how to apply for it. And it was pretty clear, like it was already a done deal with the other guy. So she kind of said, hey, screw you guys. I'm going to run on my own. You know, good luck with everything else. And so she ran against the LDP candidate and the DPJ candidate. The DPJ candidate was a dork. They shouldn't have picked him. That was kind of a disaster. So the opposition candidate sucked. The government candidate sucked. And she kind of took them all on, and it looks like she won. So, yay. I mean, you know, it's like crazy right-winger lady, but she graduated from university in Cairo. She speaks Arabic. She's like international security expert person. And, yeah, you know, she's... Fox Morris. Yeah, you're familiar with her. She's got a big channel, actually, and she's pretty awesome. I was pretty impressed when I talked to her, actually. So yeah, go subscribe. I should put the information. In fact, people who have the channel name, I think I've got to, put the information in the comments there, so that people who want to check out her channel can go and do it. No way. There's actually a character in Metal Gear Solid 5 modeled after her. That's kind of crazy. Well, I was just hanging with her. I didn't know who she was, but she's like awesome. So, you know, there you go. Anyway, new governor, so that's kind of good. On the downside, number 5 is the head of the Zaitokai, which is that group which does the racist, brown shirt marches through the Korean neighborhoods saying you should all die, which isn't very nice. Got a few votes, although that said, I don't know what the final vote count is going to be, but let's hope it's not too much. You know, Tokyo does have its fair share of, just like the BNP or whatever, the UKIP or whatever. You know, everyone has their 10% of crazies, but hopefully they didn't get too many votes in this one. But, congrats to Koike. So yes, indeed. So other things, I don't have a prepared Flipboard. Instead, I've just got my regular tweets, which I'm just going to flip through and see if there's anything interesting. I thought this was kind of interesting. This is Yahoo's developed an AI which can help to moderate Mr. Kordychev. Any time they detect anything said by Mr. Kordychev, it will pick up and be able to tell, oh, there's Steve Miller, the voice of America. Captain Picard, he is with us. Welcome, Captain. He has been doing awesome. I mean, if you've been checking the stuff that he's been doing with Voice of America, and well done on that. You really kind of invigorated the talk shows and the segments that you're doing and the podcast and everything. So really, really great to see Steve doing so well. And great to see you in the comments. Good to see you, dude. Wow, this is like a celebrity night. I'm just feeling kind of good. So as I was saying, when we come back to Yahoo has developed an intelligent algorithm for detecting anywhere, even if Mr. Kordychev were to log out and then log in, under a different name, it would be able to tell that it is. There we go. Steph plays. It would be able to tell that this is Mr. Kordychev and he should be banned. So it's pretty smart. However, what they've discovered in the process of developing this AI is that it is kind of hard to develop an AI that can find Mr. Kordychev, because although Mr. Kordychev sometimes says obvious things that identify him by saying, you baldy, or you slap head, or just sort of abusive terms that immediately flag this is Mr. Kordychev and he should be banned. Sometimes there are more subtle things, like he could be saying, looking pretty shiny today, and shiny can be applied to any number of things. So it needs to be pretty intelligent AI to tell that he's mocking my head, and he needs to be banned. So from that respect, there is still going to always be a role for humans in helping to develop the intelligence of these. But hey, Wikipedia, good to see you. But that said, AI is rocking along, and I can definitely see the day, hopefully soon, where, for those people who can't afford their own personal social media manager, they might be able to get an AI assistant that can do a lot of the sort of work that that a social media only show me peel me grapes and only send me comments that show love. People who want that's probably coming close. Comments without Mr. Kordychev, that day is soon going to be upon us. Buenos noches, buenos dias, and buenos tardes to all you people. In fact, I think Willie Shinobi, you will be buenos dias, and definitely buenas noches to Mikey Chen, and very good to see all of you indeed in all the languages of all the peoples around the world. So there we go. See, here we go again. So the AI detector, but right now, here's the thing, Mr. Kordychev. It's gathering data on pretty much everything that you say, and everything that you say it will be able to detect in the future, even through the sarcastic, careful wording that I know that you're using right now to try to evade the filters. The machine's going to catch you. That's all I got to say. The Matrix has you, and there's no way you can run. So, Tokyo Model Detective, welcome. I'm going to tell you my jet ski story, if you like. So we're just talking tonight about on Facebook. Razogul and Tai Nakamura and others. We were talking martial arts films. I was mentioning in 2 weeks I'm going to Phuket. I've had a really, really hard physical workout sort of weekend. I've been climbing and stuff like that. It's been kind of intense. They're doing all sorts of stuff. Playing rugby today. Yesterday I was doing a Sasuke course and climbing a wall and jumping off a 7-story scaffolding with a cable attached to me, and I could barely move this morning, but then I had to take the lad to rugby. But I mentioned I'm going to get into some training as much as I can. Even though I've just started a new job, I'm going to try to get to the gym in the evenings if I can. I want to get into the best shape that I can because I want to go to the Muay Thai dojo that's just around the corner from my dad's house in Phuket, where I will be visiting in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks to try to get as fit as I can, so that I can rock up to the dojo, and maybe I want to take daily lessons there, just sparring on lessons, and I want to not look like an idiot when I'm there. So to that end, I want to get in as good shape as I can. I'm in reasonable shape at the moment. So that's triggered off a whole thing about talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and other martial arts movies. That was pretty enjoyable. However, also on that thread, Tokyo Model Detective did point out how Thailand is a country of scams, and it definitely can be if you're not careful. And be careful. And he mentioned the jet skis scam, and I run into that. I'll tell you what that is, how I got done in by that. The jet ski, they have these jet skis all over the beaches in Phuket, which you can ride for about, what was it, about $50. You pay, and you can go on for like half an hour, go jet skiing like crazy. And I was in Phuket where I was meeting my stepbrother, my Liverpudlian stepbrother, who I cannot understand a single word that I've got two of them, and I don't understand what either of them say, or their girlfriend. They're lovely guys, and I'd really like to understand what they're saying, but I couldn't. But there was them, and there was my brother-in-law. Guy who married my sister, who is from Cornwall, is much easier to understand than the Liverpool guy. But anyway, a couple of Poms and myself, as we would say in the Southern Hemisphere. And they wanted to ride the jet skis, but they didn't have the cash for it. They're a bit strapped, and I'm like, well, I can manage. So I offered to pay. Hey, I'll get us 3 jet skis. Let's go and play. That'll be fun. So I went over and I paid the very dodgy looking jet ski guys whatever it was. I think it was about $50 each at that time for a jet ski. And we went out jet skiing, and being 3 lads on jet skis in the ocean, got a little bit rowdy. Now myself, I'm not totally the rowdy type, so I was kind of like people were rushing around and charging and stuff like that, but I wasn't doing anything too crazy. But the other 2 guys, they were being lads, and they were enjoying jousting and doing whatnot, and inevitably at some point they crashed into each other, and they crashed and they damaged the fiberglass on both of the jet skis that were involved in the prang. So when they came back up to the beach and they gave them back, as we tried to quietly walk away, or give them back and walk away, the people who own the jet skis noticed these jet skis are damaged, and they came up to me because I was the guy who paid for the jet ski, who paid for the session. And they said, you're going to have to pay compensation for these. We're going to have to get these up to the shop and get them fixed, and you're going to have to pay us for the loss of income from these jet skis. And you know what? It was just 1 jet ski. It wasn't 2. It was 1 jet ski that was badly damaged. But and I was like, well, that kind of sucks. But how much are we talking here? And I think they said the number was something like, they originally said like $5,000. That's how much we'll make. It'll take this a week to get fixed, and that's the income that we'll lose. $50 a pop. Over 5 days, $5,000 you got to pay. And what I knew about this place was I knew that the guys who run these operations on these beaches are Thai mafia. So you can negotiate with them to a point, but not too aggressively. I was on the beach with my father, who's local, who lives there, and he knows other local people there, including kind of well-connected people. So I immediately sort of turned around. First of all, I turned around to the guys who actually crashed, and I'm looking for them, and they are running away. I'm kind of left there, and I'm there with the mafia guys. So I kind of wave my dad over, and my dad comes over, and he kind of talks with them, and he kind of gets them to agree to go down to like, how much was it? It was like $2,000 or $3,000. And Dad said, well, look, we'll get them down to $2,000 to $3,000. He'll pay $500, but son, you got to pay the rest. Well, wait a minute, I wasn't even involved in crashing these. They've done a run for the hills. Frankly, they couldn't afford it anyway. But they left me with the mob guys, and even my dad kind of ended up turning to me and saying, you got to pay. So I reached into my pocket, my credit card, and I paid like, geez, you know what, I've shut it out from my memory how much I paid, but I paid a few thousand for that. So yeah, that was a painful memory, and it cost quite a bit of money. I never raised it with the guys. I mean, my brother-in-law was nice enough to say thanks for that back there later on, and I never told him how much I paid. I know that he couldn't afford it, so that was well, I wouldn't say it was okay. I'm not going to go on jet skis again soon, and frankly, I'm never going to pay for those guys to ever go on jet skis again, even if I go on one myself, because I'll be careful if I do it. But that is my, so Tokyo Model Detective, yes, it crashed, oh my god, that's right, and it wasn't even me, and I had to pay for them. So it was pretty crazy. So when you talk about Thai scams and don't go near the jet skis, when you said don't go near the jet skis, you triggered PTSD for me. That's what that story was. So indeed, Thailand is nice, but you know, it is also, you got to watch yourself. And this is actually one thing. The whole thing with the whole military dictatorship at the moment is the first thing they did was they went to all the beaches and they rounded up all the mobsters that were running the beaches. And as much as I'm, you know, don't like military, you know, roundups and purges and stuff like that, you know, getting the mafia off the beaches is maybe a good thing. But yeah, you have to be super careful with that stuff because you can get really screwed. And frankly, you know, these morons who crashed it was their fault, and they got off scot-free, you know. So it's what it is. But anyway, that is that story. I mentioned that I'd tell the story, so I told the story, and that is the story, Tokyo Model Detective. What else we got going on here that's been interesting this week? Lots of space stuff, which is always awesome. We got the more stuff on so AI moderators. That is a you know, an ugly car. I understand that they want to make a minibus based on the Model X platform, but you know, if my dog had a face that looked like that car, I would shave its butt and teach it to walk backwards. Seriously, Elon Musk, you're a cool guy making cool cars. Please don't make a car that looks like that. Hey, Ko Hoshiro, good to see you. Konbanwa. And good to see Robert 1967 Canada as well, and Nippon Culture Quest. It's awesome to see all of you guys joining. Good to see you there. And oh, is Wikipedia doing a comic? Oh, that'd be awesome. Definitely want to follow that. And Nicholas Rapp, I see that you're there as well. Good to see you, sir. And it did suck, but that's life. Sometimes things suck in life, and you know, and honestly, I don't even think about it anymore anyway. But thank you for reminding me, Tokyo Model Detective. So what else we got here? There has not been a lot of news this week. This got a lot of attention, and we were talking about this just before. There's been serious research in Japan into developing onions that do not result in crying. And in fact, when I posted this on Facebook, somebody put on that Kobe politician who was into crying. But yes, so here's the question for everybody. Assuming that it tastes the same or it doesn't taste worse, although for me, I wouldn't want to like risk it. Actually, I'd probably be okay. I've done jobs like working in delis where I had to just chop onions, like hundreds of onions, and that could get pretty rough. And that's a situation where tearless onions would have some sort of appeal. But even then, actually in a deli, you soak them in water, and if you soak them in water before you chop them, you can actually pretty much resolve the issue that way, although they probably don't taste quite as good. So for me, I don't know that I would pay a premium for, even if it tasted the same, you know, for an onion that was tearless. But here's the question. You know, I could see how if you were to do it in bulk, where you're chopping a lot of onions, or if you're really sensitive to onions, how having a tearless onion would appeal. But how much more do you think would be reasonable to pay for an onion that resulted in no... oh, did I share it? I'm sorry, did I already share it? In fact, oh, now I'm remembering, because I know that you sometimes put like comics up, but I didn't realize it was like a whole comic book. Okay, I'm going to go back and actually search for that in Facebook after this so I can show everybody that, because that sounds more interesting than tearless onions, but for what it's worth. How much would you pay? Would you pay like 10% more, 20% more? I think these are going to be expensive, but who knows? I mean, if they're genetically modified or whatever. Hey, Shubas, no worries there in Panama. Buenos dias. In Panama, we have lots of Centroamericanos in the house tonight, so welcome along. And don't worry, it's all forgiven if you take me to, I don't know, can you surf in Panama? There's a question. I know you can surf in Costa Rica. Is it, Shubas, tell me, is it possible to surf in Panama? Because I've always wanted to go surfing in Costa Rica. Michael Peckett, there's an interesting one. Will I talk about Sagamihara? I will get to that. In fact, if I don't get to it, remind me. Let me talk about, forget about the onions actually, we just talked about the onions, but let me go to, okay, thank you for that in that case. You know what? Let's see if I can show it in my browser here. So this is the Facebook page, which isn't really visible, but let's do this. Kingdom Come. So you can kind of see This is it's called Kingdom Come. It's on Facebook. Thank you for putting the link there, Robert Brooker. And this is Wikipedia's comic. Everybody get in there, and right now my browser has frozen. That's not good. I might not be able to show comments again, but let's just see if I can fix that. Everyone, go like and follow Wikipedia's webpage. Go and follow Wikipedia's comic, because that looks awesome. Close the program. Check for a solution. Okay, let's do this. That is shutting down. Oh, maybe it's going to come back. Okay, there we go. Oh, so here we go. This is Wikipedia's comic. Go and check it out. Kingdom Come, it's called, and the link was just there. Go and check that stuff out. I've got to go and check that out myself. And now I have to put this back. So let me just put this back. And that is awesome. So anyway, and yes, indeed, Sergeant Booker, I am also of the belief that tearing eyes is part of the whole onion chopping experience. Wikipedia, don't worry, you can take over the show. Believe me, your stuff is much more interesting than my stuff. And actually, this is probably a good excuse to get you back on 2.5 Oyajis sometime, if that's cool. We can plug the comic, especially if you have something formally like coming out. If not, but anyway. Okay, so that'll be awesome. Yeah. So definitely, that's talkable. Sagamihara, maybe I don't have a linked story about that either, so let's get on to that. But yeah, for me, I don't understand. Well, if it's natural breeding and it's not weird or anything like that, I'm okay with tearless onions, although frankly I wouldn't go out of my way or pay extra for them, because I quite like onions as they are, but who knows. Did I say Robert? I don't know, but anyway. This is kind of weird. So recently, 7-Eleven went after Mr. Donuts by releasing a stand of almost identical donuts on almost an identical stand to the donut stand that they use in the Mr. Donuts shops. However, recently this week, they started selling them in plastic bags, just like they sell bread, basically, which makes you think, why don't they just sell it with the bread? I mean, actually, to me, here's me, I've been in Japan too long because it looks better to me with extra packaging, which I know is super, eco-hostile. But is what it is, right? I mean, I think that kind of makes sense. I'm going to turn on the aircon because it is getting hot. I had the aircon on too much just before and I was getting all sneezy. But it's okay now. So I don't know with these donuts things. Yeah, it's a bit mysterious to everybody why they would bother with the plastic wrapping, or if so, why would they keep it in a special case, display case, anymore. But in any case. By the way, Miss Hanaka, I missed that comment about stoneless avocados coming out in the UK. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, the stones are a little bit of a pain, but at the same time, I can imagine how that is kind of weird having avocados without them. Well, it kind of makes sense. Again, a lot of food that uses avocado would make the preparation a lot easier. But that is interesting. Anyway, so yeah. Let's go through. Let's get forward a little bit. This was kind of cool. I made a hyperlapse yesterday when I was going out to Shin Toyosu from Toyosu. It's kind of cool, isn't it? I quite like that. It's just a hyperlapse app. It's made by Instagram, and it's kind of lost some popularity. Lately, you don't see so many of these, but they're still just as cool as they always were. So I thought that was pretty cool. Pokemon Go is the head of the augmented reality iceberg. I was just talking about this in Japanese. I think that's cool, but it will be even cooler when they start making these with augmented reality, so you can see the Pokemons in the glasses without needing to hold up a smartphone. That's my view. I want Google Glass to come back and to capitalize on this. That's my view. I think I showed the photos from the event. It was awesome the other day. This was interesting. They launched the Comfort Women fund in Korea that's funded by the Japanese government, administered by the Korean government to try to pay compensation to remaining elderly comfort women. However, on the day of the release of the fund in Korea, there was a violent protest against it. The head of the entity was attacked with a pepper spray on the face. and it was pretty nasty all around. And this is the whole thing. The Koreans would rather that the old ladies not get any money or compensation from the Japanese government with written apology. They prefer that they not get that, if they get to keep the statue in front of the, Japanese, taunting the Japanese embassy of the comfort woman girl. So, again, it just shows these things are probably kind of are probably unresolvable. Andrea Morboy, have a good night. You are up late, so get ready for China. We'll probably do a show next week. That'll be the last one before I go off to Thailand, so have a good night. And now wait a minute, I think people are talking about the Barry Reddit, right? Which oh no, okay, I think somebody talking about previous shows. Oh, maybe I shouldn't even say this actually. Barry's been back in the news. Maybe you've seen Victor did a video about Barry has run out of money and he needs help. He set up a GoFundMe. Was it GoFundMe or something like that? Victor, I'm not going to go into this any further than to say Victor did a video about the subject with his views on it. Barry reached out to both Victor and I, and don't like to see a brother in a tight spot. But anyway, he's put his case into a 15-minute video, which if you are interested, you can go and see. And it has drawn the attention of, he reached out to Victor and I, and Victor made a video about it. I'm not going to say anything about it other than you can go and look up his channel and check out the video yourself and make your own decision about what you want to do about it. It looks like some other people have found the video and they're talking about it on Reddit, and I'm not going to say anything else. But that is, I don't like to see a guy in trouble at the same time he killed Prince. Oh, this is the guy who drew that picture. He's a good guy. So he did that for me. He was super awesome. He's like a pro who YouTube had come along to the event and do these things for everybody, and they're really good. There are a bunch of people. So yes. Oh, okay. So that was so Hiki made that comment on Victor's video. So yes, indeed. What else have we got here? So yeah, more. Oh, that's right. I did lots of tweets that night from the event. This was out to Hiroko Tabuchi, who said that she can't believe how American politics is going. This is the scene of Trump actually shaving Vince McMahon's head at WrestleMania, and I think this is pretty much what US politics now is. The series Joy of Japanese Business is continuing. This was another good one this week. Got lots of good vibes, lots of good karma from it. That was okay. What else we got? People talking Pokemon Go there, which I've kind of opened up, but I haven't really gotten too deeply into because I'm scared of doing that. Let's talk about the Sagamihara murder. So as everybody knows, there was a terrible murder earlier this week, in a disabled hospital. I think it was intellectually disabled hospital. I'm not exactly sure what the definition of the patients were, or the criteria of the patients. In fact, maybe Michael Pickett knows more about the specifics about the hospital and who the patients were. In any case, what we know is that a 26-year-old former staff member of that hospital who was dismissed and institutionalized in a mental institution for fears that he caused by statements that he made while working at the facility, that all disabled people should be exterminated, and speaking favorably of Hitler and whatnot, and sending a note pretty much outlining his plan to do what he did to the police outside of the it was picked up by the call by the police stand in front of the parliament in Tokyo. So this is kind of a guy who for some reason worked on this facility but fantasized and ideologically believed in the kind of genocide of disabled people. Bear in mind, this was a person who ended up himself being institutionalized as a mentally deficient person, and after persuading them that he was no longer a danger to anybody, was let out, and then went back to this work, and he basically sounds like he cut the throats of like 40 people, successfully killing 19 and seriously injuring 20, obviously with the intent of killing them all. No question, again, the guy's a nutter, but there again, you can say the guy's a nutter to not address, to not look into the thing deeper. In terms of comments about that go beyond that, I did comment when I first heard about the story. There is this whole thing in Japan. One, there's grossly insufficient care available, not just for the disabled people, which has always kind of been, and always been a big burden on parents. And again, because of the burden of looking after seriously disabled people, physically or mentally, there has always been this thing of kind of, hiding them in the basement and sending them off to institutions. There's been this trend in Japanese society. It's very common to send people who are kind of, low IQ people and people who struggle in society, kind of embarrassments to families. They'll ship them off overseas, or if they can't institutionalize them in Japan, if the families are wealthy enough. Because it's difficult. I mean, apart from being difficult, there's very little support for families to look after people like this. And, there's not much of a welfare system to support it. That said, of course, now you're dealing with an aging society, in a society where both men and women, where both parents work. So in terms of needing to look after children, there's no institutional or framework for care of raising children, to cope with the way that the economy is growing. There certainly is enough, going on at the moment for looking after elderly people. And on top of that, you also have the steady and probably increasing, due to health and longevity, increasing population of disabled. And among that, you get these murders, for example, of caregivers, people looking after elderly people, just from being exhausted from the burden of looking after them. There's these murder-suicides that are happening. And I looked at it first in the context of that, of somebody who maybe gone crazy in that respect. But no, this person actually is a kind of evil person, from what I can see. From what he said and the way he planned this whole thing out, the fact that he actually worked in a place of patience, at his mercy, that and the fact that he used restraints and so on doing this. I mean, this is a pretty evil act, frankly. So it's kind of shocking to wake up to, very disturbing, the worst mass murder, sort of ever since, since World War II, I think. On the one hand, he's doing it out of prejudice against disabled people. On the other hand, it appears he fell into the category of people that he had this, genocidal instinct against. And I don't know how he resolved that. Maybe it was out of that own self-realization that he was crazy, that he, that he felt like taking it out on other people or something. I don't know. But terrible, terrible thing. And I'm kind of a little bit upset that I don't think an incident like this specifically is likely to, specifically happen. This is one of those kind of rare, one-off kind of, real sort of evil things. But in terms of, the need to have proper care and security, and indeed the way that society looks at, disabled people and people in need of welfare support, genuine welfare support, young, elderly, and, infirm. This is really challenging to Japan. And to how to deal with this and how to make sure that this sort of thing can't be allowed to happen. Not that I think that this was necessarily allowed to happen. They're looking at that at the moment, but it's pretty awful, obviously. And that's it. This is happening after a week where there's been new terrorist attacks happening in other countries every day, and then we have this in Japan where we don't have terrorism. But it goes to show this kind of thing does can happen anywhere. But it was pretty awful. So that's all I've got to say about the Sagamihara incident. I don't know if Michael Peckett's still there, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the comments if you have any. So what else have we got in here? In Japan generally, even before Pokemon, there was this big thing against walking while looking at your smartphone, which I'm guilty of doing. I mean, I do it on I look at my smartphone pretty much through my whole commute now. But particularly Pokemon Go, you've got lots of accidents involving this, including people actually driving their cars using, while playing Pokemon Go. Michaela mentioned this actually, and she was saying she's seen near accidents involving cars with drivers clearly playing Pokemon Go, which I guess is more likely to happen in places where there's not so many trains and people are more reliant on cars. But But yes, Steve Miller, you use some of Pickett. Okay, this is on VOA. I'm glad to hear. He's a pretty prolific writer actually, so that's good to see that you're getting him in there. So yes, indeed, there's been things about putting Pokemon sort of in the wrong places, like on train tracks, and people have gone chasing after them, putting them in like restricted areas, private property, which is called trespassing. Putting them in sacred sort of shrines and so on. It's awkward, but this is a brave new world. But 400 car accidents sort of isn't cool, and I guess this is as much from pedestrians as cars. this was pretty cool. This was the event that we were at the other day, and lots of cool photos and all that stuff. Me and Fit Gaijin, he's a very fit Gaijin, he's an aptly named person. A bunch of Pokemons everywhere there at Roppongi Hills. This is kind of crazy, I didn't actually know this. You talk about all the stuff going on in the South China Sea right now and how obnoxious China's being towards the other claimants of all the little rocks and, you know, crappy places down there. This is apparently in the Blue House, in the presidential palace of South Korea. They have a live feed of a camera on Takeshima Island, or Dokdo Island, or Lion Court Rocks, or whatever you want to call it. Japan calls them Takeshima. Japan reckons it's got an equally legitimate claim to these islands, although they don't make a big song and dance about it. They occasionally issue like stamps or something, and Korea loses its mind. You know, there's this thing, feeling insecure much. I mean, they're fully militarized. They've turned this island into a fortress. They don't allow Japanese tourists onto it, and they've got a live feed. And you know, I mean, again, they're pretty obsessed with these rocks. And even Shinto Ishihara said, "Look, everyone in Japan knows they're never getting these islands back. So you know, fine, they'll keep saying what they think is right, that these islands were Japanese and taken from them." But at the same time, no one in Japan seriously expects these things ever to come back to Japan. You know, they're Korea now, and that's fine. Who gives a shit? Well, the Koreans do, obviously. But the South China Sea, you know, China's kind of moving in that same direction, and it raises the question: is Japan ever going to do the same with the Senkaku Islands? At the moment, if you try to land on the Senkaku Islands, the Japanese Coast Guard will arrest you and put you in jail, as they have done with Japanese right-wing activists. You know, in Korea they make you like a national hero, and they already have tourism trips to the South China Sea. So I still think, honestly, compared to China and compared to Korea, Japan is so much more mature and, you know, respectful and kind of like level-headed about these territorial things. China and Korea are just so nationalistic and insane about this stuff that they go and do crazy stuff like this all the time. You know, I think they should be more like Japan. I really do. I think Korea should treat Dokdo like Japan treats the Senkaku Islands, as should China should treat the South China Sea the same way. Don't be a dick about it, basically, I think is the sort of message. Although I know that they both think that Japan is a dick about both cases, but seriously, like, get some perspective. Crazy stuff. Hey, Mariligus, you live on Tsushima. Wow, okay, well that's... Tsushima's like right beside Korea, right? That's that big island up there. That's where they had the Buddha statues that some Korean guy stole, and then the Korean pretty much endorsed it. So there you go. And Kohoshima, I can't read that, but you know, I don't care. Uematsu. Okay, so it's good to see now Pickett is in the comments there, and I'll actually try to catch up to those. But I'm going to keep going forward for now, but that was my moment, such as it is. I don't really have a strong opinion other than the thoughts that I just put together for you, but I hope that was interesting in some way. This is the thing about the comfort woman thing. The thing down the bottom is talking about the emperor is planning to make a public statement next month where he's probably going to say that he wants to make like the pope, and while still alive wants to hand over the crown or the emperor title to his son, which I think is totally fair enough. I mean, again, kings abdicate all the time in Europe, and the Japanese monarchy is based on the European system, you know, the modern Japanese monarchy. So I think it makes sense, but you know, some people are kind of freaking out about that. This is kind of cool. All automatic truck. Jupiter is hot, it turns out. Twitter wants to become like Snapchat, which I think it should really, really not do. It's kind of sad, you know, Twitter, they have to keep growing. I don't think they need to grow, they just need to keep it the way it is. But you know, when you got shareholders and profit targets and so on, it's pretty tough. Don't be... Yes, my security chip. If only it did translate into political speech. Indeed, Miss Security chip. That's an interesting one as well. On the current Korean spelling, I believe it would correctly be G, although of course everybody spells it K, and it didn't go over. So Busan became Busan became Busan, and so on, and all the G's became K's, all the D's became T's. Kimchi would be the correct pronunciation under the modern spelling, I believe. But in any case, you know, who cares? Who cares? Koreans get so upset they think that Japan's trying to steal their kimchi, and you know, no, it's not. It's like spaghetti. Everyone knows that spaghetti comes from Italy and kimchi comes from Korea. But again, they're very sensitive about this sort of stuff. Oh, that's interesting, similar. Thank you for the clarification. So they didn't change the spelling when they changed the standardization of Romanized Korean, did they? I guess it makes sense. I mean, they've invested in a lot of intellectual property around that brand, or around that word. Yeah, this is pretty unfortunate in Korea. They said, that again. This is a fund that's set up to compensate and apologize to the comfort women, and people just don't want to give up their right to be pissed off, which they have, and I understand not wanting to give it up, but you have to go and actually assault and spray pepper, in the eyes of an old lady whose job is to find and compensate the comfort women. Seriously, it's kind of messed up, but as these things always are, and this again just shows why the comfort women is not resolvable. Issue is not resolvable, not through money, not through apologies. People just want to stay angry, and again, as I've always said, they're entitled to stay angry. They don't have to not be angry. And I know that they feel like their right to be angry has been taken away from them by the Korean government doing this deal behind their backs. But, this is about as good as a government that wants to settle this issue can do, So, if the population doesn't want to let go, that's fine, but that is what it is, right? By the way, Bailazo, I don't think I said hello to you, but hello, Bailazo. It's nice to see you commenting there, and thank you for joining. But yeah. So I think the thing with the B and the P is that the way that Koreans say it, it's like halfway in between. It starts like a B, but they really exhale when they say it, so it's not exactly a P. But yeah, it kind of comes out. It's the same with the D and the T as well, right? I don't know what you wrote in Korean, Kosa, but write what you like. So what else have we got here that's interesting? I'll tell you what, let's go out with, I'm going to show you a little app that I made, and it's kind of cool. So, not an app that I made, it's an app that I have been learning to use. And I made a track with it this week. I've gotten a little bit into making music again. I had a little bit of free time recently, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So let me show you what I've got. There's this cool app that's called Medley, and it allows you to basically sequence instruments. So you've actually got much more control over the notes than I would normally have. So let me, in fact, I've been playing around with this new track, but let's get out of here for a second. So how about if I switch this over? Now the problem is if I show you this, it then won't allow the screen to be shown. So how do I do this? I guess I would take this off here, and I would show the camera. Oh, that means you're going to see my legs. Well, you don't want to see my legs, I think. But anyway, this is the app. And I made this track the other day, and it came out kind of nice, so I'll show it to you. It's basically, you can sort of see how it works. You do a sequence with a bunch of instruments, and you can actually tap out which notes you want to have. And you can see it's got the notes. And I played around with this for a while, and it was pretty easy to make a pretty decent track with it. This is just playing around and being stupid, but it was pretty. Bit of a lag because of the video, but actually it is of course in sync. So yeah, I just had a cheesy happy tune anyway, but can you hear that okay, by the way? Anyway, cheesy, happy, I call it Think Like Fish, because fish are happy and stupid. But I had a conversation about this the night before I made this track, and that's why I named it that way. But what I like about this is that you have a lot of control. It's pretty easy to actually compose, so you're actually making like legit music. By the way, check out my beats. Oh, I shifted that by accident. Anyway, that's right, it is kind of cheesy 80s music, but that was kind of fun. I'm making a new track at the moment, but let's skip ahead a little bit. It builds up at the end. This app is called Medley, M-E-D-L-Y, and it's a good app. Mata, you should definitely stick to caustic. It's working for you pretty well. So I've been working on a new track which I haven't made a lot of progress with. I'm just sort of playing around with it still. But it's going to sound something like this. So sounds kind of, you know, there's sort of 80s drums, but you know. So, anyway, that's the show. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to keep playing this as we go out a little bit. But I'm having a lot of fun composing with this. Anyway, margarine on the dance floor indeed. So I'm still playing around with loops for this to put together, and I'll put a track together from it. But it's pretty sweet, you know. What's this one? This is like the first track that I made. That's like the first track that I made. I made it the other day. So anyway, that's the show. Hope you liked it. And that's me in 3D. So have a good night. See you, Wikipedia. See all of you guys. Stay cool. I will be back. We'll try to get a Tokyo Digital Crew, Tokyo Digital Jam show going this week. Maybe we'll talk about this app among other things, but I'll try to do that on Wednesday. And all you guys stay cool. We'll see you next week. And peace. And by the way, yes, I was intentionally going for video game music with that. I used chiptunes thing for it, so that was deliberate. And yeah, anyway, hope you like that. So see you later, and peace. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's turn that off and stop this. See you later.